All right, good morning. Looks like we got some folks on. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Morning, Rudy. Morning, Rasmic. Rasmic says 5 by 5. Cool. We're going to wait just a second while I sip my coffee, see if anybody else is joining this morning. All right, looks like we got 11 folks on. If my volume is still good, then we can kick it. Let's see, we got Rasmic on this morning, Rudy. I got Mr. Brett is on, Dr. John is on, Will is on. Good morning, and everybody, and welcome to Coffee of the Rich. My old brother Jeff is on this morning. Thank you to the folks that are joining me. We got a real good show today, man. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I really like today's show. Got some swag here, man. American Warrior Show Cup. I thought, man, this month is the 5th year the American Warrior Show has been around. Why not commemorate those 5 years with American Warrior Show Cup? So I had Will, who does our fulfillment, I asked him if he'd put one of these together, and some of you guys have been wanting the ability to put your name and coin number on your coffee cup, and Will has added that feature for you. So check out the store, AmericanWarriorSociety.com or AmericanWarriorShow.com. All right, as always, if we hit happy birthday, AWS. Hey, thanks, Will. I appreciate that. Rich says there's a high-pitched whine in your audio. Let me know. Has everybody experienced that? Let me know. I can change it for you. Oh, my old Marine buddy Chad is on this morning. Good morning, Chad. It may just be the high-pitched whine of my Southern Appalachian dialect. It can be brutal to those that are uninitiated with it. Let me know if the audio is if everybody's experiencing the same high-pitched whine as Rich. Okay, Will says no. John says yes. Rasmuck says good. I'm certainly not hearing it here. My old buddy, Mr. Mike Seeklander, is joining us. Mike, you need to get one of these, bro. Got your coin number on it. American Warrior Show. You need to pick one of those up. My lovely bride, Miss Lisa's on. Guys, I got a great show for you this morning. If you like, share, comment, you'll be entered to win one of these. We'll put your name, your coin number on it. Ship it to your house if we hit 100 likes. So please like and share. Mike says he don't rate one. Mike, I beg to differ. Mr. Mike Seeklander, you do rate one, sir. Yesterday I was on the Concealed Carry show. Go check that out. It might have been episode 394, I'm not sure, but the video is up. You can see my smiling face. You can find it on YouTube, or you can find it on the Concealed Carry podcast Facebook page. They got the video up there. So me and Riley Bowman had a really cool conversation yesterday. Go check that out. As far as another show you need to check out, show number 171 with my good friend Cecil Birch of Immediate Action Combatives, man. Cecil Birch is part of the Shivworks Collective with Mr. Craig Douglas, Paul Sharp, and a host of other amazing men. And they have forgotten more about gun grappling than I will probably ever know. Cecil Birch, of course, is a BJJ black belt. He lives out there in Arizona. And check him out, immediateactioncombatives.com, or check out show number 171, where Cecil talks about taking on the ego, man. It's an amazing show. He's a great guy, and I just learned to learn. I love to learn from Cecil, so I'm so happy he came on. Let's see what else we got to talk about. Well, before I do, I want to get into the article that you need to check out, because it's a really cool one. But before we do, please like, share, comment. Let me see who else is on here. John saw it. Great job. Hey, thanks, John. I appreciate it. And John, Dr. Eden, was just testified in front of the Texas Senate, I believe it was. Right, John? And did a really good job there explaining constitutional carry and gun rights. And thank you, John, for what you do, fighting a good fight. The article I want to share with you, man, comes to us from a guy who wrote under the pen name Ethan Riker. It's not his real name. I guess you could call it his nom de plume or his nom de guerre, whatever you want to call it. But Ethan Riker is a commercial airline pilot, like one of our persons that's watching us this morning. I won't out him. And Ethan Riker may or may not be an FFDO. And if you don't know what the FFDO program is, it's the Federal Flight Deck Officer Program. It's one of the programs set up post 9/11 to give certain pilots that have gone through extensive amounts of training the ability to carry a firearm in the cockpit, just in case the cockpit is breached. Now, not every commercial airline pilot qualifies to do this, so there's only a few of them out there. There needs to be more of them. And Ethan wrote us an article about what he carries. Not what he carries as someone who's an FFDO, but what he carries as a commercial airline pilot that travels all around the world and thinks about preparedness constantly. It's an amazing article. You definitely want to check this out from a guy who probably spends 200 plus days away from home a year and lands in all kinds of cities around the world. How does he keep himself prepared? So check out that article. I've finally done what I should have done a long time. All the article links to the shows today and everything are going to be embedded. So you don't have to go searching on the AmericanWarriorSociety.com to find this article today. Look in the top of this Facebook thread and you'll find the link to Cecil Birch's show. You'll find the link to this article, etc. So I don't know why it took me so long to get there. Thank you to the 23 people that are on. Let's see who else is on. My good friend, former Marine, Mr. Doug Rines is on. Doug, we're finally going to hook up for lunch next week, I hope. Alan is on. Good morning, Alan. Let's see. Jeff Day is on. Good morning, Jeff. It was a pleasure rolling with you the other day there at Hudson Jiu-Jitsu. Hope you enjoyed it. Alan said, good morning, listening while getting ready for the range. I love that. Ted is on. James Vick is on. Good morning. Gerald Dees, man, it's early out there in Oregon. Ted says, old Ted, 1461, happened to be here. Yeah, 1461, if you don't know what that is, he's referring to his coin number. I just happen to be coin number 2 because Mike thought of this idea first, and when we were grabbing at coins, I think he beat me in a rear naked choke or something like that, but that's what happened. And Mike says he had the pleasure of helping start the FFDO program back in the day when my partner Mike Seeklander was the lead instructor, head instructor, chief instructor, guru extraordinaire, ninja and resident there at the Federal Air Marshal Academy. Let's talk about today's gadget, guys. I've hinted at it, I've teased at it, if you saw the show yesterday over at shootingperformance.com, I've been doing a morning show on Thursday mornings there. Shootingperformance.com's Facebook page. I told you what today's gadget was going to be. Let's get into it. This right here is the PR-24. This happens to be the very same one that I carried as a police officer. It's a multi-purpose police instrument made of extra strong polycarbonate. I used to think that it was made out of virgin nylon, but when I was looking at the specs online yesterday, this is the S model, and the nomenclature on the Monadnock site that made this guy says it's super strong polycarbonate, and it is. It looks just like the day it did 23 years ago when I was toting this around. Let's talk about it a little bit. This is an impact weapon. Obviously, it's from a family of weapons called batons, and this just happens to be called a side handle baton. And I guess it originated from an Okinawan Tonfa, which Okinawa, if you're not familiar, is a little island just south of Japan. I had the unfortunate, if you want to call it that, luck to be stationed there for a while as a Marine, and other than the scuba diving and working out like a maniac, it was a pretty miserable existence. Anyway, I got off on that tangent. So the Okinawan Tonfa, if you ever saw one, it looks exactly like this, pretty much. And the origin story of the Tonfa was that it was some sort of handle for a millstone. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what they say. So that's kind of a little bit about what and the history of this thing, what it is. Why would you want one of these? Well, it's an intermediate force option. It's falls somewhere in the range of hands, punches, pepper spray, impact weapon, shooting someone. And that's a crude discussion on a very complicated thing about use of force science and the use of force continuum. But I will tell you that the only time you would really want to use this or think about using it is when all lesser levels of force have been exhausted, they haven't worked, you've tried your hands, that didn't work, you tried your fist, that didn't work, the OC spray's having no effect. I'm talking about civilian defenders here. Or you're justified in using lethal force, deadly force, whatever you want to call it. You're justified using that. You can grab the baton and go to town. But what not to do with these things is, let's say you carried this in your truck. You saw Coffee with the Rich. You're like, that's a pretty cool looking deal. I guess I could get one of those. You certainly can. You keep it in your truck. Some old lady cuts you off, and you jump out of your truck with your Tonfa, or your baton, your side handle baton, your PR-24, your personal restraint device, 24 inches long. That's where that name comes from, made by Monadnock. And you brandish this weapon without the justification to use it. It's no different than pointing a gun. You just got an aggravated assault charge. So can you brandish this? Can you threaten the use of this? Absolutely, but only if you're justified in using it. It's really no different than any other tool. So before I tell you a little bit more about how to use it, let's see who we got on this morning. Old buddy Jeff Day says, morning, Rich. I did have a great time. Thanks for not killing me. I had so much fun. I went back for more last night. Man, I'm glad to hear that. A lot of folks come roll one time and they're like, nah, this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is not for me. I'm glad you're sticking with it, Jeff, and we'll see you there Tuesday night. Wendy Ayler is on. Wendy Ayler Bowman is on. Good morning, Wendy. Brett says, I've only got 3 in my garage. American Warside, 38 people viewing in a bit. Take a short break and click that share button. You might find it easier to share to a group that you might be a member of that's open to this type of content. Yes, sage advice. We're up to 40 live viewers right now. Thanks to the 40 that are joining me. We got more to talk about on this PR-24. John says, good morning. John number 912. Good morning, John. Okay. How to use this? When the threat's actions have justified the use of this, that's when you use it. Now you can restrain with this, which is pretty cool, man. I wish maybe we'll make a video, Mike and I, showing you how to use this to restrain someone, because you can use this to restrain someone if you're justified in its use. Then obviously you can restrain with it You can also defend against a strike with this. It works surprisingly well to defend against a strike with this. Of course, you can strike with it. There's a whole lot of things you can do with it. There's a figure 8 drill you can do with this thing, and but I will tell you, using it defensively to deliver defensive blows, and I keep saying this because obviously we would never use this in an offensive capacity, is fine, but as long as you're delivering it to the strike areas. But again, only when all levels of other force have been taken into account. When you're thinking about striking with this guy, I would tell you to think about striking through the target with it. It's just like anything else. And then pausing periodically and kind of assessing, stepping back, giving the suspect or the your threat some room to maneuver, man. Back out, make a strike or two, back up and assess. Let that give them a momentary pause, because I consider this a caveman weapon in the sense that you look pretty barbaric when you're swinging a club on somebody. Let's be honest. And I say it's caveman because it activates the old caveman brain in the person you're striking. You're striking them with this PR-24, they get crazy. Find one video where somebody's been struck by an impact weapon and they go, ow, you struck me on the common peroneal. Okay, I'm done playing. Let's go ahead and prone out, or let me get back on my pickup and get out of here. More often than not, I've seen these to fail. Now, I've never used one myself. I've never used an impact weapon on anybody. Use my hands a lot. Use spray a lot, but I never really used the baton on anyone. Maybe you have. If you have, let me know. Does it work? I think it has a place, or I wouldn't have carried it and wouldn't maintained it this long. I just haven't really seen the instance where it would work. I told a story last week about spraying this guy that everybody had beat to a bloody mess with these for 45 minutes. It didn't work because old Ronnie Wayne liked to do PCP and other pharmaceuticals, and he just didn't give a crap about pain. So they have their place. Not really something I've used, but your experience may vary. So if you've used it, if you've got a video out there where a PR-24 or any other baton or impact weapon has worked really well, please send that to me. I really would love to look at it and see what made that event successful. Before I get to the strike areas and what they are and why they're there, let's take a break real quick and see who's on here. Got the 47 folks on right now. Thank you to the guys and gals that are joining me. All right. Let's talk about strike zones. Let's see, Brett says, didn't work as well as I'd hoped. It's not a magic wand. Man, sage advice, bro, from someone, Brett, that used it out there in Southern California when he was a law enforcement officer. I'm pretty sure that's what he's saying. Didn't have any uses with this. Didn't know anybody that had any luck with it. Didn't see any videos of anybody having luck with it. Maybe there's a video out there of someone using it as a restraint. I think I have seen that video or two where somebody's tying up somebody with this and it looked pretty good. And that is an idea. So strike zones. Monadnock, when they put this out, the literature says that you have 3 strike zones you can strike someone on. If you're legally allowed to strike someone, you can strike in the green zones. That's the legs, that's the arms. We're talking about the muscle mass of the legs and arms, just avoiding the joints. You can't strike the joints and the legs and the arms because that's a yellow zone. But the other part of the green zone is the upper back. So a lot of it is, when you know that, and I just told you that, Monadnock says you can use this on an uncompliant suspect when everything else has failed, when pepper spray's failed, tasers have failed, your hands and feet have failed. You can use this to strike green zone areas. The upper back and the limbs minus the joints. So go back and look at the Rodney King footage from March the 3rd, 1991, when Mr. George Holliday filmed that few-second video. And remember, when he turned it into KLTA, I think it was, KLTA stripped out the first 10 seconds of the video so you'd lose context. But even given the limited amount of information I'm giving you, that Rodney King and his two cohorts, the two cohorts that were with him, by the way, got out of the car, proned out, and were left unharmed. Rodney King didn't get out of the car and prone out. He decided to fight. He took two taser strikes. They had no effect. And that's when he continued to be combative. That's what led to what you saw March the 3rd? Yeah, March the 3rd, 1991, when Mr. George Holliday turned in his footage. Now go back and watch it again. Green zone, upper back, and limbs. And 90% of what you're going to see these officers striking him are in those green zones. You don't necessarily see a lot of yellow zone strikes to his torso and his joints. If they are there, they're probably, I mean, even in the case where they're hitting him like this, they're still striking green zones. It may not look like you want it to look, but they're still doing legal strikes for the most part. So a yellow strike is striking to someone's torso and joints. Now, when I say torso, I'm not talking about the sternum, because a sternum strike here to the heart is a red zone strike, as is the head and the spinal cord. So go back and look, and you're not going to see any head strikes with this PR-24 to Mr. King. You're not going to see any sternum strikes on old Mr. King, etc. So I think, Masad Ayo wrote a book, or at least a chapter on the Rodney King, and gave a pretty well forensic science breakdown on the use of force for every strike that was delivered to Mr. King. And once you put that in context with use of force policy and the training of those officers, they got acquitted, guys. It had nothing to do with race, and it had everything to do with the lawful use of force. So, like I said, if it was just about harming an African-American man on the side of the road in Los Angeles County, then there would have been 3 people going to the hospital that night, but there was only one, and that was the gentleman who was being combative, my opinion. All right, let's see who else is on here real quick, see what we got. Brett said it requires constant training. Absolutely, man, that is true. You're not training with this thing. I was watching videos on it yesterday, and I had forgotten so much about how to employ this thing correctly. Right now it stays under the bed, and look, it's I don't know. Let's see who else says if they've had any use with it. It's Betty Orr's birthday today. That's Mike Seeklander's mother. Happy birthday, Betty. I hope you have a wonderful day. Yeah, if you're a friend of Betty, my second mom, tell her happy birthday for me. Doug Lightfoot says, I have never used a PR-24, but have trained with and carried an expandable baton for years. Used once against a suspect under the influence of pain pills and alcohol. During the confrontation, I struck him in the legs 3 times. The strikes dropped him to the ground, but the fight wasn't over. We fought on the ground for several minutes before I was able to cuff him. Boy, that's a great point, man. Doug, that's spot on. And Doug is a law enforcement officer, a patrol lieutenant up there in Ohio. And his point is well made, man. Just because you reduce the mobility because you're landing some really good disabling strikes to the lower extremities, and the person, is in so much pain they go to the ground, it doesn't mean it's over, folks. Like Brett said earlier, this is no magic wand. Well said, man. I appreciate that, Doug. Rasmus says, happy birthday to Mike's mom. Yeah. And Mike says, that must have been pre-powerlifting Doug. If you hit someone now, I think you would rip their legs off. I know, I was thinking the same thing. If Doug Lightfoot hit me in the legs, I'm going to the hospital. Probably going to need to see an orthopedic surgeon. So that's all I got on today's gadget, guys. Should you have a PR-24? Couldn't tell you. If you're into impact weapons, and some people are, they love them. They don't like the chemistry behind pepper spray, or there's something that they don't like, and they feel more comfortable swinging a PR-24, then go for it. It's just not my jam. Because think about it. I have to, if Mr. Doug Lightfoot can't strike someone and send them into the next planet and make them want to give up, then I sure can't. So this is PR-24. what are you trying to do? You know, you're disabling this person, stopping their decision making by applying so much pain that they don't want to continue, right? So in order to deliver that much pain, you're probably going to incur some damage while you're doing it. The only thing that causes intense, unbelievable pain and yet has no long-term, 99% of the time has no long-term lasting effect is OC spray, oleum resin capsicum spray, chemical aerosol irritant, whatever the case may be. And oh, by the way, this can get you aggravated assault if it's deemed that you used it incorrectly, whereas OC spray is probably just going to land you a simple assault charge if they say that you used it incorrectly. So before we get to the training vault, let's see who's on. Miss Lydia is on this morning. Good morning, Miss Lydia. Yeah, Doug says the alcohol and pills probably help. And that's the truth. If you're using this on a combative suspect that's not listening to your verbal commands, he's not de-escalating, then it's probably because he's under the influence of something, right? And that thing that he's under the influence is probably going to dull his sensory receptors, and he's probably going to continue to be non-compliant even after you struck him multiple times. Mr. Bo Bennett is on this morning, Bo. Unfortunately, you've missed a really good show on the PR-24, but that's okay. I'll recap for you. The training vault, man. I don't say enough about the training vault. I found yesterday, I'm snooping around our training vault, which is where all the premium content is for the American Warrior Society, and I found a part of it I didn't even know was there, and I'm embarrassed to tell you all that, but I want to be completely honest. There's so much content in there that even I had no idea it was there. It's the Performance Enhancement series, and I don't know if my old pal, Mr. Mike Sleeklander, put it together. I don't know if Ferry's put it in there, but it's amazing stuff. If all the training vault had was just the Performance Enhancement series, it would be worth a membership, I'm telling you right now. And there's 15 modules inside of it. I'm scrolling through and looking at all the content that's in there, and then I go beyond it and I see our Warrior One fitness and firearms and fitness program that Mike Sleeklander put together with Jake Sines. So I encourage you to check that out. Once again, you can join the American Warrior Society for free for the first 14 days. If you don't like it, it's not your jam, not a problem. Let us know you want to cancel, and we'll take care of that for you. So that's all I got on today's show. Let's read the comments, and then I'm going to kind of recap and see if I missed anything. Doug says another use of the expandable baton is that it can be used as an emergency entry tool. I have used my baton to break a car window and help a person out of the car after the crash and to gain entry into a home during a burglary. I suppose that great point. And one of my other friends, Sam, was on here the last time we talked about impact weapons, and he's been a law enforcement officer for 25 years, I believe. Sam said the same thing. Porting a window is the only thing he had done with his expandable baton, but this, of course, is a side handle baton. And I've used and been certified in both the PR-24 and the ASP expandable metal baton. They have their pluses and minuses, man, just like anything else. So let's kind of recap real quick. This morning I told you I was on the Concealed Carry podcast yesterday. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on their Facebook page. Go check it out. It's me rambling on for about an hour. It's pretty neat stuff. Me and Raleigh Bowman, the host over there, had fun doing that. Then I told you about show number 171 with Cecil Birch of Immediate Action Combatives. It's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, amazing guy. He's part of the ShivWorks collective with Mr. Craig Douglas, Paul Sharp, and the rest of those phenomenal folks over there that have forgotten more about the art and science of gun grappling than I will ever know. So check out show 171. And by the way, like I told you at the beginning, all these links are in the show notes at the top of this Facebook alert, so you can find them there. You don't have to search the web. I'm taking care of you this morning. Also talk to you about the article that we have written by Ethan Riker, the nom de guerre of a commercial airline pilot who's an American Warrior Society member, guy that spends more than 200 nights away as a commercial airline pilot all over the world. He also happens to be, this anonymous gentleman also happens to be a member of the FFDO program, Federal Flight Deck Officer Program, that allows for highly trained commercial airline pilots to carry firearms in their cockpits, which I think is an amazing thing. And I also think it's a model for school teachers. People say, we're going to arm school teachers and let them. I say, well, yeah, we arm commercial airline pilots. If they can meet the standard, they can do that. It wouldn't be every teacher. It wouldn't be little old Mrs. Cunningham, who's a literary teacher there at your high school, who's 70 years old. If she can't meet the standards, she shouldn't be carrying a gun. Same thing for these FFDO guys. They're highly trained, highly skilled, highly qualified, and they've been given the ability to carry inside their cockpit. I think that's a great thing. But anyway, he talks about in-flight travel. He talks about how he packs for the terminal and the things he does there, travel considerations, hotel considerations, luggage considerations, what he carries in his get-home bag, and why it's all there. An amazing article. Check that out. It doesn't cost you anything. We talked about the gadget this morning, PR-24, derived from the Okinawan Tonfa. It's a side-handle baton. It's a police tool made out of very strong polycarbonate, an amazing tool. I've never used one. Maybe you will someday. Hope not. Training Vault, man, I finished it out with that. Why you need to get involved in the Training Vault, the performance enhancement series that we've put together, the 15 modules in there, man, will definitely keep you safer. And before I jump off, let's see who's on here. Looks like Mr. Andrew Bronca is on here. Good morning, Andrew. Andrew, who wrote the book, The Law of Self-Defense. If you don't have it, you're wrong. Go out and get a copy today. I'm going to tell you right now, you need it more than you think you do if you plan on using any level of force against another person out there. Let's see. Jeff Brown says, never been a fan of impact weapons in an open situation once deployed. What do you do with it once you engage the individual? Too bulky and too big, potentially be used against you if not stowed properly. That's a good point. Alan says, thanks for the info. Got to go. Starting to snow. If it ain't snowing or raining, you ain't training. Yeah. Be careful out there. Matt says, I'm on the West Coast, so I never get to watch, but I'm in early, so I'll check it out. I spent a lot of time with the PR-24 at the USMC Depot MP School at McClellan in the 1990s. Semper Fi, brother. Good to have you on. Hey, Andrew, good morning. Yeah, man. Like I said, you need to get Andrew's book. I have no financial investment in Andrew being successful, but I tell you what, you do have a financial interest, because if you use today's gadget, a PR-24, some sort of impact weapon, you will probably get arrested, and it'll have to be sorted out, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So make sure you get the education you need to be successful. And it doesn't cost a lot to consume Andrew's content. You can buy the book. You can become a Patreon member, whatever Andrew's got going. You need to get in on it because, like he always says, man, you carry a gun so you're hard to kill. Know the law so you're hard to convict. Look at that. Free advertising, Andrew. You're welcome. Let's see. Jeff Day says, thanks, Rich. Heading to the range. Have a great day. Guys, that's all I got for you on today's show. If you got anything for me, I'll stick on here for about another 30 seconds or so and see if anybody's got any questions. If not, I'm going to respect your time. I know it's Friday. I hope you have a wonderful weekend planned. Take somebody to the movies, eat some popcorn, have a good time. Step outside the self-defense bubble for just a minute and enjoy your weekend. So, anybody got anything for me before I jump off here? Ted says, Law Self-Defense class on video taught me very, very much. Yeah. We bring out Andrew every year for our American Warrior Society annual camp, and he teaches an entire one-day lecture. So we're going to be advertising camp coming up real soon. It's going to be 4 days. You'll get to hang out with Mike and I, get to train together. We'll do some gun grappling. We'll learn a little bit from Andrew. We'll go to the range, and it'll definitely make you harder to kill and harder to convict at the same time. So it's a 2-for-1 there. Andrew says, let's see what he says here. Rasmick says, thank you, Rich. It was a great show as always. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Andrew says, impact weapons work great, but the dividing line between non-deadly application and deadly application is extremely narrow, and the legal conditions for each degree of force are very different. That's a great point, and that's the instances in which these things can be legally used for an impact weapon specifically is very narrow, because like we said, I'm facing a violent felonious assault. Maybe my verbal didn't work, my de-escalation didn't work, my hands, my grappling have failed, pepper spray's having no effect. I'm working my way up the use of force continuum with an unarmed, non-compliant suspect that just keeps charging, keeps attacking me for whatever reason. Now maybe I can go to the PR-24, but to do what? You know, are you really going to be trained well enough to only hit the strike zones, the green zone, the yellow zone, the red zone, or is it going to go straight to lethal force and you're going to strike the guy in the head? You could have shot him, and now you're facing the same legal jeopardy, if I'm not mistaken there, Andrew. Gerald says, makes a great gift. Will says, Andrew's next class is in April. Will Parker has given you a link there. And Andrew Branca himself has given you a link to lawselfdefense.com live video. Yeah, absolutely. Andrew says, looking forward to AWS Camp 2020. You will definitely learn a lot. Last year, man, I think it was last year. It was the year before last. I can't remember. We brought in TC Fuller was there. TC, of course, is a good friend of Andrew and I. TC's a retired FBI agent, and we did the shooting portion. At the end of Andrew's lecture, we actually set up a board and gave the guys some sort of laser gun, CERT gun. I don't remember what it was. And Andrew presented a scenario, and you decide when you would shoot the person on the video screen. And then we turned the student around, and TC would kind of interrogate him as a law enforcement officer might. TC has a lot of experience with that. And it was eye-opening, man. One of the things we learned, and I'm sorry for the going a little bit over here on the time, but it was pretty interesting. There was one scenario where you were walking into a building and there was an active killer there, not active shooters, an active killer there with a firearm. And there was one of the employees was hiding under the desk, but he was telling you where the bad guy was. Every single time it seemed like we interrogated somebody, they never ever remembered talking to that person that was hiding under a desk. So it's amazing what the mind does under stress like that. Even the simulated novel stress of holding a CERT gun in an air-conditioned classroom in front of your peers doing a no-shoot drill or shoot drill. So it's an amazing class, and if you haven't taken that, you probably need to put that on your to-do list. Andrew says, yes, bang a guy in the head with a baton, that's deadly force, just as if you'd shot him. Totally true. Sorry I've had the effect of making sessions run long. Matt says, shoulder lock, wrist drags, took a ton of training to be proficient. Probably another reason why they aren't as popular anymore. Yeah, if you watch the videos of people that know how to do them, it looks freaking amazing. It looks beautiful. But to get to the skill level where you can restrain someone with a PR-24 is quite challenging, especially if they're a combative person and this is a fight like this. But anyway, anybody else got anything for me? If not, I'm going to let you get on with your Friday. Any questions or comments for me? Check out American Warrior Show coffee mug. Get your name and coin number put on there. Will has added that to the store. It's now available. And you can celebrate the 5 years of the American Warrior Show being around. Any questions? Andrew says, guess I should use the right avatar if we're talking shop. Hey, man, we're always talking shop, brother. Okay, guys, that's all I got for you. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for joining me for Coffee with Rich and a little discussion on impact weapons and the side handle baton, the PR-24 from Monadnock. It's been a pleasure having you on today's show. Stay safe, and remember, the fight is coming, so be ready.